But anyway, is there hope na may paglaom ni itong kalibutan nga giguba sa atong mga katigulangan? Apil na ba ko na sa katigulangan? No? Diba, familiar faces na gyapon, mura gyapon sila sige kabalaka, pero the rest are chill-chill lang. But anyway, I hope my presentation will provide us some hope nga naday tayo mahimo. And kanang mga alternative are tangible, magunitan, and within our reach. And the resources that we need are nara po din sa atong mga kasilinganan. I'm so happy to see the area full of exhibits on solar energy, because when we started the advocacy some 30 years ago, people were saying that we were doomsday sayers and that what we are talking about is not real. It was only in 2004 that there was a global consensus that climate change is real and anthropogenic. What does it mean by anthropogenic? It is caused by human activity. And it is in the last affirmation that in the last 100 years, the deposit of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide in our atmosphere is threatening the life on Earth, not just humans, but also all other living things. Kaya basta mag-computerize ganing kay buhinay. Ano taas mga ang linya? Nag-computerize magod ang LTO, munang taas ang linya. Now, bear with me that we're in the Philippines and we are computerizing, and that's why the delays. Anyway, now for the next 2 hours, do I have 2 hours? I will talk about the context of power in Mindanao. Mindanao, as we say, is differentiated from the rest of the country. Why? Because we have abundant hydropower, and historically, Mindanao is dependent on renewable energy. I will show to you later on that it was just in the last 9 years, less than 10 years, that Mindanao transitioned from renewable energy dependence to fossil fuel dependence. Then there are climate realities and economics that necessitated just energy transition, as the shift to non-renewable energy dependence has resulted in expensive power and increased the carbon footprint of Mindanao as its growth escalates. Now, it's not just what attracts people really. We have been doing workshops, focus group discussions on this topic. And the first thing that people talk about when we talk of electricity, it's not about the atmosphere, it's not about carbon dioxide, but it is mahal. Dili mahal nga gugma, kundi mahal nga expensive. Sa ba yung lain word sa mahal? Mahal. Expensive. So for people to be interested in the conversation of just energy transition, we have to address the economics of it and prove that the alternatives that we are pushing would redound to the pockets of the people. Kita sa Mindanao, nailad na. The last 15 years, we were told that we have to go diesel and fossil fuel because climate change has made hydropower unreliable and solar very expensive. I will show to you data that narrative is wrong, and we hope to address and rectify that narrative that Mindanao ought to be renewable energy dependent, and that answers the call of ADA for rapid transition. on PMCJ for that matter. So we have an ambitious campaign to gain parity at least 50-50 by 2030. The target of the Philippine government is 50-50 by 2040. Now, kung mata, papilon mata, bida-bida matas Mindanao, we're saying that pwede ta mag 50-50 in 2030. And the next slides, I will show to you how it can be done. This is Mindanao now. We have 98 power plants, dependable capacity of 3,700, 900. But if you look at the data, ang Mindanao has an oversupply of over 1,000 megawatts. And that has resulted in dirty and expensive fuel. Northern Mindanao, which shows 70% of the installed capacity of coal in the island, has the highest power rates in the island, and among Cagayan de Oro, one of the highest in the whole Philippines. So this is what I was saying. We used to be 70-30. 50% of our power comes from Agus and Pulangi, in Lanao del Norte, del Sur, and in Bukidnon. But now, no more. I will show to you. This is how we lost Mindanao's dependence to fossil. Kanang red circle, that's the point of transition from renewable to non-renewable. And it is 2016, 9 years ago. Now, if that happened, we allowed that to happen 9 years ago, I think we can reverse it in the next 5 years. Optimistic ako. But I live to see the first coal plant in Mindanao, and hopefully I will be there to see its closure in 2031. Kanang stayag sa Villanueva. You know, I joke that if padayon ang stayag, bagangin strike ko. Now, look at me now. That was 1998. We were able to delay it by 6 years, but eventually, with the powers that we said, for one reason or another, nga mapadayon na. Nadayon yun. And after that, there was no stopping. So much that nagsubra na ang kuryente sa Mindanao. So Mindanao is now 51% coal, 70% diesel. That's around 70% fossil fuel. Now, I will show this chart. Si Falcon karon dili na nila ito na makita, kaya giutro na nila ang website, hindi na ito makita ang breakdown sa ilang power. Now, what I will show you is hydro is still the cheapest. Then second, solar. The most expensive is coal and diesel. Makaro ba? Real time na siya. Ang problema lang, barato ang solar, asa man ang solar. Kaya wala may solar plants. Barato man ang hydro, pero kulang ang hydro. When WESM started last year, nagbarato ang kuryente kay daghan naman mo palit sa hydro diya sa Agus and Pulangi, which is only 97 centavos per kilowatt. Coal is somewhere like 7 pesos. Pero ginabaligyan na sa Napocor o sa Pisam o 197. Blended with stayag, may muna siyang 3 pesos. No, munang kwan. So what we're saying is, we have proven that coal is very expensive and dirty. Solar and hydro are the less expensive, the cheapest, but the problem is supply. I had a friend sa Agusan Sur Electric Cooperative, tawag siya. Say, tabangi mi say nga, mahatagan mi og allocation sa Pisam og barato nga hydro. kay mahal kayong among kuryente. Ang nahatag sa ila, natagan sila og barato, pero alas 10 paingon sa alas 4 sa kadawon. Not the peak hours. So wala po impact sa ila. Because there's no available kay gamay na lang man ang capacity sa Agus-Pulangi from 1,000 megawatts down to around 500, 600 depending on the weather. The capacity. Now, this is data from Sipalco. Kanang orange, 2017, nisulod ang embedded power plant by a subsidiary of Sipalco named MinREACH din na sa Balingasag. Ang kanang graph muna ang share sa immediately from blue, which is water, nisaka, halos coal na tatanan. Unfortunately, dili atong ilong ang magitom sa anuos kay tuaman sa Balingasag. Naman diri sa Cagayan. But that changed the next slide. This is the price behavior of coal. No? Dili tinuod nga barato ang coal because volatile siya sa geopolitics and whatever happens. Gataas. The next slide, I will show you, this is the price behavior of electric prices of electric cooperatives in Mindanao. Dependent on coal. Now, naigisar ko na ko na blue, kanang yellow nga line. That's illegal light and power. Wala sila ni apil og saka because they are heavily dependent on hydro. Because they negotiated nga amo ng tubig, amo ng suba, hatagi mi ana nga kuryente. Now you look at their power rates. Nagsaka tanan sa ila maintain. So reliable, secure ila power rates because they are dependent on renewable energy, not coal. This shows that, as I was saying kanina, pinakamahal ang atong kuryente din yung tagikan, pero mga class mabudabod, sa pianon man tang, nagakita coal plant, we're paying for it. It's not free. That's why if we want to have cheaper electricity, there should be transition now. Now, what does high electricity means? It has economics. Ato ta sa PBDEC, daghan nagsirado, kay mahal kay kuryente. 40-50% sa production cost, kuryente. Because we are in a civilization that is so dependent on energy. Namalhin ang daghan ng investors because mahal atong kuryente. Now, because of this, what I'm saying is we have a choice. The future really is renewable energy. Kabalo pa nga ang Mindanao, well, hayag kita din ang average sa whole Philippines around 94%, but Mindanao we only have 82% household electrification. Access to power has been directly correlated with poverty. Less access, higher the poverty rate, less access or no access of the people to basic services like health, education, and everything. That's why when we talk about power, it's not just about economics, it's also social. Cagayan de Oro, 56% sa atong greenhouse gas emission in 2023, according to Clenro, gikan sa stationary sources. Katong wala nagdagan. The other term is plug-in power. katong kuryente nga atong gisaksak. Since we are 80% dependent on coal, dako pod kayo ang atong greenhouse gas emission coming from this kining power, this power that we have now. Dili ni siya dark green na siya. Kito power. We're 89 to 90% dependent on coal in Cagayan de Oro. Now, but mas sa mga seasonal resources. Kanang tanan, balay, building, kung may naanak niya, atop, rooftop, we'll go back to the rooftop later on. Dili lang ang balbal ang interesado sa mga rooftop. Climate change impact. We don't need to study Timbuktu. Ang Sendong was a 100-year cycle flood. It means its point of reference in terms of impact was 100 years ago. 1916 to be exact. But mind you, in the last 10 years after Sendong, there were 3 100-year cycle flood that followed. That's 4 100-year cycle flood in 15 years. What na kabalo karon? We had a wet summer this year. So we had Pablo in 2012, Vinta in 2017, and Odette in 2022. The water, the precipitation that fell in Cagayan de Oro City was similar to that of Sendong. Nalay mga circumstances nga nag-differ, mawang iyang impact dili. But what does it say? It's extreme. Would you imagine a 100-year cycle flood would come to you 4 times in 10 years? Now, muna siya ang projection sa Cagayan. Cagayan de Oro will be wetter until 2036 and will be dry, wet and wetter until 2036 and dry and drier from thereafter. So, okay ba ta? Ang mga bata itawon nga way ato mga 1-year-old karon will be rise temperature 2025 ng 0.9. That's for Cagayan de Oro. Dili alien ang climate change. This study was done in 2017 by USAID. 0.9% this year ang Cagayan de Oro. That's increase, ha? Ang Cagayan de Oro, Cagayan de Oro is a thin strip of flatlands in between the second and the third highest mountains in Mindanao and Makahalar Bay. Sige tag-complain og baha, di na sala sa mayor. Di na sala sa mayor karon og mayor sa una pagyud. Baha unon gyud ang Cagayan de Oro. Pati sa uptown gi gaba na. Tulain na siya kitanan. Asa ka ang flood control nga project sa congressman. Now kanina, tatay mga obligations. The national target is 35% by 2030, 50% by 2040. What we're saying, kay bida-bida matas Mindanao, 50-50 by 2030 ta. Muna siyang nationally determined contribution sa Philippines under the Paris Deal, Paris Agreement of 2015. Now, we can do this. We're now in the process of making the roadmap. Hopefully, by September, we'll be able to present the roadmap for 50-50. Ang kining idea sa 50-50 2030 was born in the first Mindanao Clean Energy Forum in Davao in 2023, reaffirmed in 2024, and hopefully, by the third Mindanao Clean Energy Forum, kauban nato og gyapon ang Mindanao Go Solar, papresenta nato kini nga roadmap. Pero na siya kondisyon, no new coal plants. Now this slide, medyo hagipot ang tanaw nimo, tanan contracted power sa Mindanao Electric Cooperatives, mahuman 2025-2026. Kana siya mostly anak coal. Now, we have a window until 2032 nga masuplayan nato na siya og clean energy. Now, munang na mga grupo like Mindanao Solar, kami sa MinREACH, sila sa Green Energy, Green Dini. Sige, trabaho yun nga mag-campaign, nga mag-increase na yung mga investors para sa power plants, para kini mga electric cooperatives, kanang gray, mayon na siyang blue. No? Kana siyang blue is contracted power. That's mostly coal. Gibbs, alis din rin siya og black. No? Dahil kanang orange is negotiated. Ang kanang gray, plan. Now, wala itong window. I-compute na mo, that's around 1,500 megawatts that we need to fill with renewable energy. How do we do it? Kabalo mo sa Agus-Pulangi hydroelectric power plant. Sa una, 50-60% sa energy sa Mindanao, gikan din na. Pero tungkol kay tigulang na siya, nag-ubos mo din ang capacity. Ang kinahanglan na siya i-rehabilitate para ma-upgrade balik yung capacity. And also the Stayag Mindanao Power Plant in Villanueva will start its decommissioning in 2028. So that's 200 megawatts mawala sa system. So kinahanglan gyud i-rehabilitate ang Agus-Pulangi. Now, the good thing in the last 2 years, kana siya dapat i-privatize na siya because the Energy Power Industry Reform Act wants government to sell to the private sector all its power generation assets. So munang gikuha sa napukor, ang tagiyan na ang Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation or PISAM. Ang ginansya para pagbayad sa utang sa napukor. Now, nisugot na ang PISAM nga this year, sugdan ang rehabilitation. Now, that was supposed to be March. But there was a brilliant idea coming from our very own Engineer Donggay of Green Energy and a team from USTP. Tulo ni siya kabok, pero ako nasabtan, kinirang hybrid economic dispatch. Pero sayon siya i-explain. Hopefully, by August 1, masabit na ang solicited proposal so that by September, na Swiss challenge, and before the year end, we live happily ever after, basugda na ang pag-rehabilitate sa Agus-Pulangi. And not just that, it will be partnered by solar load centers para mapuslan nato ang gahom gikan sa kalangitan. Actually, the idea is very simple. Logic lang. Change of point of view. Ang traditional nga pagtanaw nato sa Lake Lanao is fuel for the hydroelectric plants. Unom na kabok. Agus 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Walay 3. Wala pa na naman 3. Kaya gubat na sila mga tukod ng 3. Kanang unom. But, change of point of view. Why not use the lake as storage of energy? So, if you say storage, na kay i-store, na kay ibutang. Mura og cellphone, nga kung imong battery maglobat na, imong i-charge para imong battery makastore og energy, maglakaw-lakaw dahil ka, mag-text-text, hantod mahulog, kung maligsan, nga wala ka nakakonect sa kable. Okay? So, storage. Now, traditionally, dunay pagtanaw na until 09, nga storage. Kung mumubo ang tubig sa Lake Lanao, ipaandar ang power barge sa nasipit o sa Mako, Davao Oriental, tag 100 megawatts, para makapahulay siya o release sa tubig, mubalik yung water elevation, mo increase ang stored potential energy of the lake. Apan unsang pagkaunsaa, gibaligya man sa gobyerno dito sa Abuitis. Itago lang nato sa ang ngalan sa company nga Terma Marine Incorporated. Immediately, nag-crash ang water level sa Lake Lanao below the roll curve of 698.15 meters above sea level. Suko na po itong makiisunan dito. Kay part of their community, part of their heritage, part of their life. So, himok nagdaghan diesel plant, himok nagdaghan coal plant. 2012, 2014, hanto sa 2019, from 200 megawatts in 2016, 2006 to 2014, to 400 in 2014, to 2,000 in 2019. In less than, in 14 years, the increase by tenfold, 1,000% ang coal capacity sa Mindanao. And the worst part is nag-overcapacity ta. Meaning, kung overcapacity, bayran man nato kaya po na, bisag dili nato magamit, kaya na may take or pay nga provisions. So, bisag di na magamit, bayran nato na, punang mahal kitong kuryente. So, muna, para ma-maintain mo ang water level diya sa Lake Lanao, maghimo og mga solar load centers around the island. That's called hybrid economic dispatch for hydro and solar. Patented na. Nadinig ka side ang kung ano ang nagpapatent na. So, last May 21, nagpirmahan na yung non-disclosure agreement ang proponent, USTP and Green Energy, with PSAM. Ano man non-disclosure, but it allows the technical people of the proponents to go inside the power plants, study the systems, make inventory, to come up with a rehabilitation plan. Pero dahil non-disclosure, kaya di nila pwede i-publish. So at least they're now working. Ang target nato, mahuman na August 1 para masabit na ang unsolicited proposal to the Philippine Public-Private Partnership Office, PPP. And hopefully, tabangan na ito kampo kung what tayo ma-invest kay 25 billion po ba sa project in 10 years. So, muna siya, there are concrete solutions. And of course, kinikitaan natin, these are, sa Cagayan de Oro, around 10 megawatts na ang rooftop solar. That is 1,000% increase sa first and what used to be the largest on-grid solar farm in Southeast Asia. Kaya sa Indag, 1 megawatt in 2004. It did not grow, but tungkol sa heightened consciousness sa mga tao, sa barato, gusto nila barato, o limpyo nga kuryente, many people are putting solar panels in the rooftop that mas daghan pa sa katong solar farm nga nahimo diya sa Indahag. So, munang, we are confident and we're working doubly hard nga makabot ato ang 2020 by 2030. Dali ko didi ganina kay sige nag-text sila ni asa na ka because I was in a meeting with consumer groups. We were discussing the renewable energy, the proposed renewable energy incentives, investment incentives ordinance for Cagayan de Oro ang atong ilabi sa City Council karong Hulyo. No, kay daghang kay taog atop rooftops. Daghan po mga negosyante nga gusto mag-invest under the expanded solar rooftop program of DOE. Pero magbayad man sila, increase man ilang bayad sa Royal Property Tax. Or RPT, Real Property Tax. So, naay atong gilabing hatagan sila incentive nga i-exempt sa Real Property Tax ang katong mag-install og solar rooftop, labi na katong na mga daghang kay atop, katong mga Cagayan de Oro is a logistics hub, so daghang ta warehouses. No? Para dili sila mag-increase ang bayad sa real property tax. So, those are some of our initiatives. Now, before I end, I will share to you a video. Nananghid ako ani, wala pa ni siya label kay nahuman ni siya the other day, pero nananghid ko nga, pwede ba ipakita na nato sa Mindanao Go Solar This is produced by the team of the Energy Storage Project, uh, which is composed of Green Energy, USTP, MinREACH, Action. So, usahawan niya